everyone who's here. I believe Dr. Tepedino is coming in, but we're going to make him do the walk of shame. First thing will be our Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone please stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The next item of business is the audience of any citizen. Do we have anyone here who is wishing to speak before the board? I'll read the language if needed. Anyone? All right. Next item is the approval of the September 12th, 24 minutes, which you should all have. Are there any questions about the September 12th, 24 minutes? If not, could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Dr. Cerency?
Second.
Ms. Allen? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Our next item of business is the student government report. See our student government representative here. If you want to come up and let us know what's going on.
Good afternoon, trustees. October and November have been very busy months for student government and our students. Over the past 2 months, SGC has hosted 18 different events and activities. We hosted multiple trivia contests, art projects, a Halloween party, trick-or-treat around campus, and coffee and donuts. In addition, FGC celebrated its first homecoming New Year's with a series of memorable events that brought our campus community together. We had a pep rally and a listening battle, which kicked off with a high-energy pep rally where President Dr. Barrett, VP Kathleen, VP Tony, Miss Amy, Passion Williams, and Shawana Wilson engaged in an unforgettable lip-sync battle that delighted the crowd and set a lively tone for the weekend. We had a who, what, where trivia, where students had to identify different locations around campus, identify 3 renovated buildings like the Student Center, list the library, and identify younger pictures of faculty and staff, including college-age pictures of Dr. Barrett and VP Tony. Quite a number of students were up to the challenge. We had a movie night in the Performing Arts Center where students watched Blink twice. We had a pre-game tailgate where fans gathered for a classic tailgate event before the big game, and they shared food and school pride in support of our athletes. We had the homecoming game, which included an exciting matchup against Polk State on Saturday afternoon with massive crowd support. Homecoming 2024 was a fantastic success, marking a joyful return of tradition and school spirit to FGC. That concludes my
All right. Sounds like you had a lot going on.
Yes.
As I always do. It always amazes me how many events you guys do. All right. Anyone have any questions or comments? Well, thank you. As always, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a presentation of the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are routine business, state directives, and/or compliance items. All items have been reviewed by the board attorney and have been available to the board for its examination. Any trustee can request a topic to be removed from the consent agenda and discuss further. Typographical errors will be noted and corrected in the board minutes. Is there any item on the consent agenda that any trustee would like to have removed from the consent agenda? If not, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So, second.
Okay, Mr. Medina moved and Ms. Norris second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Do I need to go through this A through F, or was that part of the consent agenda? Okay, all right, just want to make sure. The next item on the agenda is academic affairs. Ms. Yes-Volz.
Good evening, Chair Lander and trustees. Thank you on behalf of Academic Affairs for the opportunity to share these updates. I am delighted to announce that our Associate Dean of Libraries and Institutional Effectiveness, Christine Bowdrive, was recently invited and completed service as an on-site SAC-COC reviewer. She was also invited to serve as a panelist on a discussion piece involving libraries and prison education. Additionally, under the leadership of Dean Chris Brady, the college was awarded over a $1 million grant for workforce development, capitalization, and incentivization. We applaud the leadership and efforts of Dean Brady and his team. I'm also delighted to announce that the Future Teachers Club has been working diligently under the leadership of Professor Allison Zarnecki to facilitate a book fair club that, while still ongoing, has already generated $620 in proceeds that will be donated to provide books to second grade students at Melrose Elementary. Additionally, the ASDN program, among others in the nursing area under Dean Ann Brown's leadership, has doubled the number of applicants to the programs, the ASDN of particular note. And we are most pleased to announce that the third quarter Board of Nursing results have arrived. And our RN students have attained a 93.3% pass rate, with 70 of the 75 students doing so on their first attempt. Thank you, Dean Brown. In addition, under the leadership of Dr. Brandon McIntyre, the Center for E-Learning continues to develop an Exploring AI series, and the last few weeks have focused on rephrasing tools for generative AI, providing both faculty and staff meaningful opportunities to engage with these cutting-edge resources. A major priority for us in academic affairs this year is an ongoing review of the faculty evaluation process. And key to that is the development, the continuous improvement of all members of our faculty, both full and part-time. We look forward to continuing in this collective and collegial endeavor and expect to launch a significantly revised process as early as the fall 2026 term. And lastly, as you see in the board packet, we, among other Florida college system and state university system institutions, received the findings of our general education review course list. And by the by, the college did reasonably well, with 19 identified or flagged courses for modification either to the course description, to the learning outcomes, or to a combination thereof. We have closely worked with several administrative and faculty colleagues to make the directed changes, as well as consulted with leaders at the FLDOE. And this evening, we respectfully request your approval of the submitted list, which will in turn be submitted to the FLDOE Office of Articulation with associated course updates in the statewide course numbering system, and most of them have an effective date of fall 2025. This concludes our report from Academic Affairs, and we welcome any questions or comments that you might have.
I have a question too, actually. So congratulations on the pass rate. From a frame of reference, can you give us like what was the state pass rate and maybe one of our next door neighbor competitors? Do you have access to what their pass rate was?
May I pull it up real quickly? I do have.
Sure. So let me ask my other question while you're pulling it up. Okay, so again, back for frame of reference, in terms of the discrepancies and things that need to be corrected, 19 findings, I have no baseline to know whether that, how does that stack up and things. So maybe Dr. Barrett may be the one that has to opine on that. So, okay.
Kathy, there's 3 categories. So like you want to just.
So, I mean, again, like 19 to me is just a number. It doesn't really tell me in terms of like Is that considered really, really great to only have 19 because there's 500 categories? So I don't have a frame of reference. Can you help me with that?
Yes, Trustee Norris, thank you for asking. We submitted approximately 100 general education courses for review.
Okay.
And the number of findings varies by institution. We had sort of an anecdotal poll taking at a statewide convening last week called the Council of Instructional Affairs. And the range can be significantly high. For a larger institution, FSCJ in Jacksonville and Nassau County, there were 35 findings.
Okay.
For SUS institutions, which offer sometimes upwards of 500, in some cases reportedly 900 general education courses at FSU, we would anticipate, without being privy to the data, that there would be a much higher number of findings. Each of the findings that we received were upon review and consultation with the FLDOE, areas that we felt we could reasonably and effectively respond to. We have briefed the faculty in several forums and believe that we have also earned their support as we move forward with the mandates.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And some of them were scribe errors.
Okay.
So they were just scribed, and then there were others that needed to be improved, so.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so the RN pass rate was 93.33%. The state pass rate was 82.84%. The national pass rate was 88%. I don't know I didn't put in their pass rates, but I know we were higher than FSCJ, FSU, Rasmussen, Santa Fe, North Florida, and St. John's.
Okay.
Galen and UF were the only two that were higher than.
Galen, they're brand new, right? That's a HCA's.
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations. When you put it in perspective against some of those other benchmarks, even more impressive. So thank you.
The LPN program was at 100%, and the Florida pass rate for LPN is 84.9%, and the national pass rate is 90%.
Congratulations. I know we've worked hard to do a lot of things in all of those programs to improve our testing. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And you need us to approve by vote the updated general education course list?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the updated general education course list? If not, I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Dr. Teppadino,
Second.
Ms. Simon, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Student Affairs and Public Information. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, the Board of Trustees. I'd like to start out by talking about our athletic programs. Our men's and women's cross-country teams concluded their seasons this season at the national finals in Richmond, Virginia. Troy Winkler from Sanderson, Florida, was honored as the National Runner of the Week twice this season, which is a first for Florida Gateway College. Our men's basketball team holds a strong 4-1 record, including a decisive 20-point victory over Santa Fe on the road last night. We'd like to gloat about that one. We said we can beat those guys. Men's golf concluded their fall season as runners-up at the Southern Union Invitational in Auburn, Alabama, with Carly Gainey placing 4th out of 45 participants. For a program for its first season and only its 4th invitational, they're doing an incredible job. It is a wonderful team, strong GPAs. It's a great group of girls to watch golf. They are definitely doing an incredible job. We're very impressed with them this year. In our career services area, career services has strengthened valuable connections across 6 different departments at the University of Florida, including collaboration with the Assistant Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the Going Gator program, and multiple advisors across forestry, marine sciences, and material science fields. These meetings yielded critical insights into transfer processes, program prerequisites, and ultimate academic pathways, equipping our team with enhanced resources to guide our students more effectively as they look to transfer down to the University of Florida. Our November first-year experience program, Car Maintenance Like a Pro, veered away from our traditional academics to teach practical automotive skills. Students participated in hands-on car maintenance basics like checking oil, tire pressure, and fuse replacement. These are incredibly helpful skills as students begin to travel back for Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays. Each student received a free tire gauge and a car wash, so they're looking good going back home. And finally, I had to flip a coin for this last story with Dr. C's Bowles, but very, very proud to read this as our PIO department will be putting out a press release in the story on this student. One of our nursing students, Sarah Anderson, showcased her practical impact of her training recently while waiting in a drive-through line at Walgreens yesterday. She noticed a woman pull an unresponsive 4-month-old from a car clearly in distress. Sarah responded immediately, diagnosing that the baby was choking and performed back blows to dislodge the obstruction. After carefully clearing the infant's airway, Sarah successfully removed a sticker from the baby's mouth given to them by an older sibling. This allowed the child to breathe again. Sarah credited her FGC training for giving her the confidence to respond quickly and effectively in this critical situation.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely amazing.
Amen.
That is.
Yeah, so we'll be getting that
Fantastic.
out. You'll see it on our website. You'll see it on our social media channels, and we'll bring out a release shortly.
That's fantastic.
That concludes my report.
Is there any reason you didn't want to report on how Dr. Barrett did against Dr. Brody? Are you
I'll
trying not to
report
be
that.
transparent? You're not trying to, the transparency?
5 reasons, actually.
He specifically requested to give that report.
Okay, then I'll wait for it.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Next is enrollment and marketing. Ms. Mims.
Thank you. Good evening. I'll start with fall enrollment. We have about 3 weeks left in the semester, so these numbers should be pretty static and final for the fall. We're currently at 3,012 students compared to 2,859 at this point last fall, for a 5.3% increase. And we're at 27,080 credit hours compared to 25,139 hours last fall, for a 7.7% increase. And then for spring enrollment, that opened on October 28th, and I'm happy to report that we're at 1,599, I'm thinking that's 1,600 by now, students compared to 1,516 at this point last year, for a 5.8% increase, and students are registered for a total of 14,858 credit hours compared to 13,307 credit hours last year, for an 11.6% increase for spring. We are offering a holiday session with this spring semester. We've done it once before and it was successful. It's a 4-week semester between the end of fall and the beginning of spring. So during that break, they can get 3 credits ahead in 4 weeks, focusing on 1 class. So far there's been good interest in that. We have about 9 general education and elective courses that apply to an associate's degree that we're offering, and we have almost 100 students right now registered, with a lot of time left to go. So thank you to the faculty and academic affairs for making that happen and working over winter break for sure. Dual enrollment has been extremely busy in the month of October. They visited all of the high school campuses and helped the students prepare their spring schedule. And when they do that, they also plan out their entire plan. So it's like from spring all the way to graduation, so they can see it laid out and see their path. So they worked really hard to do that. And then we held our dual enrollment articulation meeting yesterday, actually. So we had counselors and administrators from the high schools on campus. We met with them and shared information about the college, any issues they were having. Julie Cannon did an excellent job coordinating that, as usual. So that went well. And then we've been hosting area high schools for experience days, and we only have Union and Trenton left to go. The rest, we've had them come to campus. They've had a great time. Today, we actually had 70 students from Fort White High School here. So that was a good turnout. Our next show in our Campus Vibe series is tomorrow evening with the Ultimate Michael Jackson Tribute Band. It performs at 7:30 in the PAC, and I'm happy to report that we're at 470 tickets sold. So I'll pretty much say that's a sellout at this point, so we're looking forward to that. Our AV department has done a great job updating the PAC, so we have a new audio system, We have new video mapping technology. They try to explain this stuff to me. They're the experts, but they're doing great. It looks great. The visuals are on point, so we're happy to display that tomorrow evening. Looking forward, we have one-stop enrollment day on December 3rd to help students who are in the process finish in one place in one day. And then we also have fall commencement coming up on December 12th, and we have 140 graduates planning to walk that day. And that concludes my report.
All right. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Business Services Report. Ms. Holloway?
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to request approval of budget amendment number 3 for the restricted fund, current fund 2, for the fiscal year 24-25. This amendment reflects or recognizes revised reward authorizations and new grants received in the 24-25 fiscal year.
All right, any questions about budget amendment number 3? If not, can I get a motion?
Chair, I'll make the motion to approve amendment number 3.
Dr. Surrency?
Second. Second, Steve.
Second, Mr. Medina. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so pass.
Thank you. My next item, we are requesting approval of Fund 7, Budget Amendment Number 3, which has been revised so the report reflects actual revenue, revised budgeted expenditures, actual expenses, and updated projects through September 30th, 2024.
Okay, any questions about Fund 7, Budget Amendment number 3? If not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
What was that? Oh, Ms. Norris. Second?
Second.
Ms. Allen? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you. Next item, college request approval of budget amendment number 4 to the current restricted fund, Fund 2, for the fiscal year 24-25. This amendment recognizes revised award authorizations and new grants received in the 24-25 fiscal year.
Any questions about budget amendment number 4 of the restricted current fund, Fund 2? If not, could I get a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Norris?
Second.
Dr. Surrency? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Final budget amendment, we're requesting approval of Fund 7, Budget Amendment 4, which has been revised so the report reflects actual revenue, revised budgeted expenditures, actual expenses, and updated projects through October 22nd, 2024.
Okay, any questions about budget amendment number 4 of the Fund 7 budget? If not, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Dr. Teppadino?
Second.
Ms. Norris, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you. My next item is the annual comprehensive safety inspection report. The college requests approval of the annual comprehensive safety inspection report for fiscal year 24-25. The inspection is mandated by the state requirements for educational facilities, SREF, and Florida Administrative Code. The report is requires by SREF to be submitted to the Florida State Fire Marshal's Office, Florida College System Risk Management Consortium, the Department of Education, and kept on file by the college upon approval by the District Board of Trustees. Each year, the DOE conveys to the Commission of Education the aggregate institutional reports. These reports are over all of our buildings, over all of our campuses. We had 0 serious violations and 3 non-serious violations, which have since all been addressed and knocked off the list, thankfully.
Okay, are there any questions about the annual comprehensive safety inspection report? If not, can I get a motion?
I so move.
Ms. Allen? Second, Mr. Medina. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Nice job.
Yeah.
That's a
Yes.
lot.
Facilities team does a hard job on that. They do well. Okay, my final item is architectural affairs. The college advertised and received bids for invitation to bid number 24-01-08, new STEM 2 facility construction project.
The bid was advertised on the college website, the Lake City Reporter, and various construction plan rooms. Of the 13 contractors who attended the pre-bid meeting, 6 submitted a bid. Bids were received, opened, and tabulated on September 19, 2024. The president recommends that the board award the bid to the apparent lowest and best bidder, Bergman KPRS LLC of Orange County, California, for the bid amount of $4,912,280. The bid tabulation form is attached for information and review.
Okay, and that, looks like the contract is in our supplemental materials, but does anyone have any questions or comments?
I do have a question. So obviously you've looked through everything and I'm sure you have great answers for us. So California to Lake City managing a project of this, so how do they propose to do that to make sure that we have, as smooth of a situation as we've had on some of our other projects?
Right.
What differentiated this firm outside of, obviously pricing is important, but what differentiated this firm based on its location so that we decided that California was the right place?
Right. That's actually their main office. They have several satellite offices.
Okay.
So I believe Atlanta
Okay.
is their hub for the southeast region, and they've said that they'll station someone just for the college that will take care of our needs while we're ongoing with the construction project.
Okay, and I guess they specialize in colleges or specialize in these types of buildings, or?
They've done many types of buildings. We had their bid package. They do have some work in college facilities, but it was, California and western part of the state, or the western part of the United States. But we did a pretty thorough check on them.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Dr. Teppadino?
I'll second.
Mr. Brannon? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Pass.
Any questions?
Thank you. All right, Dr. Barrett?
Sorry I'm down here. I didn't want to contaminate all of you. I will say that Trustee Norris, we had the same concerns, but we did vet it pretty thoroughly through that process. So, and I'll be watching it pretty carefully.
Okay.
Thank you for this evening. Just under general information, I wanted to let you know that, as you all know, we went through a lot of hurricanes. I'm so thankful for our sister colleges that have donated to our students for food, cash. This past week, we received a check from $587 from Florida Keys College, a small college, which we helped out 5 years ago. So giving back to each other to give to each other. So I'm just so thankful for that. Catholic Charities, which is our local food bank, tomorrow and a week and Wednesday, a group of faculty and staff and administrators will be packing food for the annual food drive for 650 individuals and families from Columbia County and 3 other counties. So very important. I want to spell special thanks to Dr. Sorensen for all his service as a superintendent in Gilchrist County, and for 50 years probably of experience, and hopefully you'll stay here and fight for Florida Gateway College. And over the next,
No.
he started when he was 10.
Just ask my wife.
So
Thank you.
so I am planning a superintendent get together that we used to have, and then we all got together and we all got to know each other. But over the next few weeks, we'll be gathering the new superintendents. There'll be actually 3 in our district out of 5. So I'll be having a little breakfast for them in the next couple of weeks. On another note, I think Mr. Cardenas and Dr. Walsh didn't really give themselves credit. They did in the lip sync contest, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. So I just wanted to lighten up the occasion there. And Santa Fe College, I did lose to their president last night in a free throw contest. But I did have 101 fever, so I'll say make sure that. But I said I would do it, and they said I was a wimp if I didn't. So one of the other things before I go into the other issue that I want to talk about is we always talk about the next thing at the college. And we are going to be doing STEM 2 over here. And we're talking about new academic programs through grants and so forth. You heard about one of the grants for HVAC that we're going to expand on and so forth. One of the ideas, the 30,000 foot level that's now gotten to about a 10,000 foot level, and I wanted to share with you, is this idea of potentially additional student housing for the campus. And thanks to Mrs. Mims' idea, kind of my idea too, but I guess, but I can't, so anyway. So we started to explore through the foundation. We own some property, and we talked about apartments, and quite frankly, the apartments were going to be very costly, about $20 million, and we have beer pockets and champagne tastes. But so one of the things we started talking about is this new idea on how to repurpose. I'm big into repurposing, as you all know. And one of the ideas is to form, going back to our heritage, for timber and that, to build tiny houses for students. And we repurposed the area of the old shooting range, which has been repurposed. So we've been working with some companies, and we've actually been working with an engineer how we'd get water and sewer out there. And I just wanted to show you, don't want to show you the bad stuff. I think we're gonna do this. Let's see. I'll do this, the other stuff in a minute, but let me see if I can get to this other thing before. Let's see. Maybe not.
I qualify for CRA, John, out in the middle of that area.
Yeah, I'm doing the down button.
For CRA out in the middle of that
Lance,
area.
are you watching? Maybe we will not do it. No, he's controlling it from his, Lance, can you get to the tiny home thing?
Here's the IT, right?
IT right here. We start them young. Looks out, they're trying, they took control.
That's your grandson.
See if this works.
Is he dual enrolled?
Starting them young. All right, and one more, guys, all right. So it would encompass basically 2 phases of the project if we move forward with this. First phase would actually go out to a company and do tiny homes, which would probably be approximately 12 by 24, single individual, approximate cost about $42,000 a home.
That's great.
And then we would actually do the first phase with 20 homes. And we do have some private money in the foundation from sale, from the Spectrum money, that we could actually afford to do this. So we wouldn't have to take on any debt or anything like that. And remember, we have 35 students on a wait list in our dorms. We have 82 current students. And the second phase, if we proceed with what our ideas are, is a construction tech program down the road that as their project for their second capstone course would be to build a tiny home that would be up to specs that would actually be in there. And it's kind of a creative idea. And only one other school in the nation has something like this in Mississippi. So I just want to get it on your radar as we talk about this and we get an actual cost out there to do. So, yes.
So when you talk about second phase having, a program, it would be similar to what, say, Santa Fe does with their building construction apprentice program?
They would build it, well, it'd actually be getting a certification. We haven't decided if it's going to be a workforce or an actual associate. We're probably going to go workforce.
Okay.
So it'd be a capstone part of their program. And I think Santa Fe actually, at the end, builds a shed.
Oh, okay.
So this would be, we would actually take it to a nutshell.
right.
And then HVAC would actually do our mini heat split pumps in the buildings. And there's some talk of putting a solar panel on that too, on top of that. So it'd be really kind of, it's a really cute area, but if you've ever been back there on the shooting range, it's really a beautiful, right by the lake, by the pond, not the lake, but I mean, So I just think it's a good idea, and I think it's cost affordable and be very unique for us to do.
So students, would you be attracting mainly students that are from the Baker County and the Lake City
Basically,
area,
mainly
or-
it's Dixie
and
County.
how do they get here affordably from that
Well, most of our students currently, out of the 82 students, I think 40 of our students have cars.
Okay.
So half of them already have cars. You mean, because it's located where our shooting range is, right on this campus.
Oh, I guess I'm sorry, I'm thinking Olesti for some
No,
reason.
it's right,
Okay.
the old
I'm
shooting
sorry.
range.
Yeah, okay. Hello.
Where Mount
I'm
Dirtmore
with
is,
you.
I call it Mount Dirtmore
I've
with
caught
a
up.
huge page.
Okay.
So it's just something I wanted to make you aware of as we continue. We'll be seeking out your thoughts, and probably the next meeting in January, we'll talk more about it once we flush it out.
Okay.
Yes. Miguel.
I think it's crazy but cool at the same time, and I kind of love the innovative thought process behind it. And I think it'd be a hit, and I think it's cost effective. So like my brain's trying to figure out, well, what negatives, are there any negatives that you see that like,
Security's gonna be a key but as part of this, if you see, there's no parking around here. The parking lot is an existing parking lot here, and we have to figure out another way to get out. But the students would not be parking next to their tiny homes. They would be walking in on retread tires, kind of, especially for permeation and so forth.
large campuses though, you're
Yeah.
parking like
I know.
three lots over if you're lucky.
But I didn't want the traffic inside the complex to
Yeah, I
keep
think
it
it's
down.
a brilliant point. Perimeter-wise, should we put some sort of, access, key thing? I don't know, like, is that just
We're
kind
talking
of?
about a gate. We're actually talking about a
Make it a
gate.
village.
Something kind of like a village sort
That's
of
what we're
feeling.
going to call it, a village. We're actually
Right.
looking for a donor to give us some money for
Could I
it.
make one other suggestion?
Tapadino Village.
In the, I don't know about that.
All right.
In that central area, maybe kind of like a courtyard sort of area, that if you were going to host something for,
And actually, in this area would be the last phase of the tiny homes, and we plan on, this is currently 2 modular buildings, and all the laundry facilities would be there, and a rec hall would be there.
Yes,
And in
that
this
sounds
area right here, as you can see, I get excited about, it would probably be like a platform gathering for, campfires and
Yeah.
things like that for special events.
and that triangular sort of area, maybe make that like a finished out sort
Yeah.
of like kind of a lawn area that people could gather, and you could do movies on the lawn or who knows what. So.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of cool, man. It's crazy, but I like it.
It's a good way to use property that we really don't have anything
Yeah.
to use for either.
So we just met with Senator Bradley earlier today, and she was like, what? She was like crazed by it, so she liked the idea.
I think it's cool.
So,
Larry, any pro formas on when it would take you to recoup the investment into the construction?
I've been looking at it. I knew you as a banker would ask me that question. I think it actually would be 5 years,
Okay, great.
because the cost would be more than our students are paying in the dorms now. They're paying $1,800 each for a double room. So I would imagine that, because it does come with a small kitchenette and so forth. And we have talked to the state about, does it meet the standard and so forth, and we would require those students, we've gotten really way down on this, I guess. Any time over 50-mile-an-hour winds, we would remove the students from the area. But they are 110-mile proof things, the current ones.
For 45,000, you could have little cottages named after different people, right, Lee? Already on it.
So, thank you very much. I just wanted to give you that. Now, some other things. I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time, Mr. Chair. Want to bring forward an issue with the city of Lake City. Many of you have heard about this before, but in September of 2021, you met jointly with the county and the city to talk at a workshop about some of the issues. And I only want to talk about one specific one today. It's about flooding of a 5-acre buildable lot for the college that the college owns, not the foundation, near the library and gym. This has been an issue for many years, and in October, right after your meeting with the joint meetings, then City Manager Mike Williams, myself, other FGC staff, and Swanee River Water Management met to discuss the flooding, not on this parcel, but the stream that flooded through the property and overtook our parking lots and came within 1 foot of our gym. After that meeting, we all agreed that there needed to be mitigation. We've had many follow-ups to college with the management district and the city, but no action. About a year and a half ago, the city built a dam without notifying us on our property, and that dam has flooded the 5 acres, even during the most driest periods of time. It has created an area of land that we cannot build on and has destroyed 60+ trees. My request tonight was, I don't want to ever ask you to sue anybody, but I'd like us to try to make some type of formal motion, if you could tonight, to say, fix the problem, restore the property, and have it completed within a reasonable amount of time. And I just wanted to show you how bad that was before. Can we go back, guys? Go before. And that was during a flood. Let's go next slide, since they took away my clicker. Next slide, please. And that is as of this week. And then we'll show you the last slide of all the trees. They've just been destroyed. So
So the dam was constructed on our property by the city.
And what it is our facility staff, and I know nothing about engineering, they built it wrong. So it's now retaining all water instead of just a stream. It's now gone out. It's about a foot too high.
So did they have an easement to be able, like, what gave them the ability to do that?
They just did it, and we didn't catch it. Same on us, I mean, but they just did it. So, because they were trying to, in all fairness, they were trying to solve a problem.
They made it worse.
Made it worse.
Solve a problem for them or solve
Solve
our
a problem,
Solve our problem.
that they were causing, because all this water is coming from their areas.
So President Barrett, do we have the ability to see the permits that they pulled and the engineering that they may have done to support why they did what they did? Because to me, like at the end of it, those go to a certain spec to be approved before they just get done. I think, at least I hope.
I don't know if they did any of that.
Well,
So that's, I'm not saying they didn't, but it indicates that there may not have been, the wetlands haven't been.
because normally you have to have somebody, especially when you're talking about wetlands or you're talking about certain, there are very strict stipulations and rules that apply when you're trying to fiddle with them.
Did the water management group have something?
I didn't know how deep you wanted to go. When they built the road to go to the sewer plant that's located, Price Creek Sewer Plant, they built it on a wetland, a huge wetland, and they never sought permitting from the Suwannee. They would never have permitting. That was directly from Suwannee River Water Management. So that's caused, in my mind, I'm not an engineer, but I think that's what's causing the problem, and so they haven't mitigated it. So all I just want it done is fixed, because it's really bad. I mean, it's really bad, as you can see the pictures. So
What have your initial attempts to reach out to them? I mean, I know we had that meeting, and then subsequent to that, that's 21 to now.
they've had a lot of leadership change.
Okay.
8 city managers in my 10 years, interims and regular ones. They've had some turnover in the city council. It's I'm just not sure why. It's just not a priority. I guess it doesn't seem to be a priority to them. So
what you want to do is make a formal demand?
Well, I just would like the board to say, if you could, it's just suggesting, or we can just, the intent of the board, I can go back or Megan can,
I was
because.
just saying, a formal letter from our attorney saying these are the issues, they need to be mitigated, and we need your plan, on how you're going to mitigate them by X time.
Right, I think we'd like them to appoint somebody to take ownership of this problem that we can have as a point person, because I think unfortunately what I've encountered, having been here long enough, is you bring up a problem and they're like, yeah, we'll get to that. But it's like, well, who is that person that will get to that we can interface with, rather than just make a general request to,
In all fairness, today they tried to call a meeting at 1 o'clock with some of the staff. So, and I postponed that meeting. So I just thought I wasn't available. I was in bed, so.
I don't remember who was at that meeting on the 21st. I know I was. Was
Chuck was
anybody
there.
else here? You were there.
Chuck,
Okay.
I think you weren't there.
And
I don't remember that.
I don't remember if
Okay.
Chuck was there or not. I didn't bring
Was Jim?
my notes from that. But
We have it on video, actually.
I know, we walked away with certain assurances, and that was 3+ years ago. I don't think they've left us any other choices but to start really having some formal demands made of them. I hate to do it too, but,
We're supposed to be good neighbors and working with each other. I always say that, but.
well, that's why we had that meeting, to be good neighbors.
Yeah.
And they got a little roughly at the meeting, if I recall.
Yes.
And so did the county. Ron Williams was there as well. I know he remembers being there. But, our job is to look out for the college. And I live in Lake City. I live in Columbia County. I don't get a vote in Lake City. But our job as trustees is to look out for the benefit of the college. It's always nice to be a great neighbor, but at the end of the day, you've got to have someone else that's willing to be a great neighbor. And 3+ years seems to be a lot of time to try to resolve something when we've been, asking and asking. And I know we've been asking, because I took up my evening to go to that workshop.
I would suggest if the board wants to send out this letter, that we copy the water management district in the letter. And maybe have some language in the letter that, we are going to lean on the water management district to do what they're required to do to address some of the enforcement as well.
And they've been very helpful, but there's kind of, I talked to 2 weeks ago, I would say he's frustrated himself over the situation.
Is there any other comments? Does the board want to?
I think we have to move forward.
Put that
I think we put it at formal pen to paper, and I think we draft something. We want to be mindful of the fact that, again, we're trying to be good neighbors, but also that in the interest of the college, we've got to make decisions that, it's one thing to wait 12 months to 24 months, but now 3+ years, we got to do something. So, I'm like you, imagine that a doctor that doesn't like lawyers suing stuff. But I say that out loud, sorry about that. But long story short, I do firmly believe that in the best interest of the college, we've tried to be as open with this, and we're not trying to attack anybody. We just want to make sure that we get things straightened out.
I agree. And I think your point of having them designate someone who's going to be their contact with Megan is a good point.
We need accountability, because I think in a position, if we're going to this position that constantly changes, and every 6 months maybe they were changing, and I understand that that's a difficult role to fill, but that we want somebody that we can say, okay, what's the update? Where are we at? Because I think if we're not getting what we want, then I think it does become a more litigious relationship rather than trying to work it out.
And I do think it's important that whatever letter, is delivered, that it recites all the history of all the times that we've attempted to get resolution. Because again, this is, it'll end up in the public venue.
Yes.
And people will read it, and it's important that it's not just perceived as, hey, we're just striking out because we feel like it. We're concerned that there's been no resolution, and we've had this meeting and that meeting and this meeting and that meeting, and the water management has been, concerned as well. What is their plan to resolve it by a certain amount of time? We look forward to hearing from them. And let us know who the point person is who's going to resolve this. And I think that's fair. But certainly I think it's got to outline, all of the attempts that we've made to have those communities.
The history.
Yeah, because we haven't changed a lot, but I know they've had a lot of change. And that's really not, it's unfortunate that it's slowed things down, but we've got business to conduct and we've got to take care of the college.
The context of the discussions that we've had, we haven't lost that context. Unfortunately, somebody new is being thrust into this position where we don't want them to think we're coming after them to be, anything less than a partner or a teammate. But, when you're not getting what you need done, then it escalates the issue. So that context will be very important in that letter, I agree.
Is there, we've discussed giving them a time frame. Is there any consensus about the kind of time frame we want to suggest to have at least an initial response?
For response, I think we need 30 to 60 days. I think for action, for action plan, 6 to 12 months. Okay. I think those are all pretty reasonable timeframes. I don't know. I'm not.
No, that's very reasonable. Megan, do you have any questions or need any more direction from us?
Do you have any concerns with this particular process?
I don't. I can tell you, just to kind of add to Dr. Barrett's comments,
I have a good ongoing relationship with Clay Martin, who's the current city attorney. When he got wind of this, he reached out to me and basically said, hey, what's this all about? And I think that indicates his lack of knowledge of this particular situation. I explained it and explained that, again, at this point, we would likely just be discussing it amongst the board. But I think he and the staff that he's working with, and hopefully with some continuity from their new leadership, they're definitely interested. I think it will be helpful to kind of give them the background and the steps that we would suggest to get a plan in place.
I forgot that Clay has he has very recently taken on that job.
Yeah.
I know Clay very well. I went to law school with Clay. He's a very straight shooter. He is.
We've got several
And I
people
think
that know him well.
To
You
the
know him too, right?
yeah, to the extent that he can do something, I think he will. That's right. Yeah. Checkmate him as well.
Yeah, we all know Clay.
Yep.
He's a straight shooter.
Yep. So I think that's good. I
He's
forgot that he had taken on.
Got to
that
do what
job.
his board tells him to do too.
That's-
So.
Don't I know it?
At this point, Mr. Chair, if that's all right, I would like to introduce Lee Pinchok, the Executive Director of the Foundation, who has some yearly business he needs to do with the board.
Thank you for your time. This is my once-a-year report, so I will try to be as swift as possible. I'll do a quick update. In September, right before Hurricane Helene, we held our annual donor luncheon. Many of you were there, but some of you we missed. We missed a handful of people because the hurricane was pending. But I wanted to share a couple stats from really, you can trace back to the 10 years, about 9 years that Dr. Barrett has been here. So since Dr. Barrett arrived at FGC in 2015, Foundation scholarships to FGC students have increased 84% to $915,000 this past year. Program enhancement funding has increased 56%, and overall donor and foundation support to the college has increased 76% since Dr. Barrett came to FGC. So just putting together the pieces to the puzzle here for you on that growth that has happened at the foundation since he has been here. The second update that I have for you is after much due diligence, including recommendations and many interviews, the foundation board this past summer voted and agreed to hire Reuben Turnbull and Associates, a Tallahassee-based contract lobbying firm, to help assist FGC with our state and federal governmental requests for the next 12 months. So we'll be working closely with them in this upcoming legislative session. And finally, for an update standpoint, our annual Giving Day is coming up this next Tuesday, the 19th. This is where we have set a goal of raising $120,001. We just go a little bit over last year, what we tell people, but internally we try to raise 10% more than that. Early on, the returns were showing that people are holding on to their wallets a little tighter this past year, but in the last week or two, it's really picked up. So I feel like we're going to hit our goal pretty well on Tuesday, and thank you to anybody on the board who has already contributed to that. I'm going to move on to item B, which is actually going to need board approval. We've got two naming opportunities that we ask for your approval. These are donors that have stepped up. So the first one is in the new, what we keep referring to as STEM 2 building, which is actually named the Grace and Al Harder Center for Innovation, and that was approved in previous years. Inside of that will be a state-of-the-art nursing simulation wing for Ann Brown and her team. And HCA Florida Lake City Hospital has agreed to provide a substantial donation in order to name that facility. In addition to that, the state of Florida has a grant, a matching grant that we've applied for that would match their donation, which we should be hearing back from any day now, but we anticipate that to come through. And then second of all, there's a naming opportunity for the current anatomy and physiology building in the name of Ted L. Gary Sr. His widow, Amy, actually named a room in the previous STEM building, or the STEM building we have right now, after Ted a couple years ago, and she wanted to make another donation in his honor. So at this time, Mr. Chair, I would ask for board approval on those two naming opportunities.
Okay, is there any questions or comments about the naming opportunities? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Medina?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Brandon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you. Item C on my agenda is our annual report and audit report. I'm pleased to announce that our fiscal year-end audit dating back to March 31st, it takes a while to get these things done and approved, it is complete. It has been complete for some time now. It is, again, a clean, unmodified audit opinion. You have the audit. It's a very colorful document in front of you. It is just wonderful reading, and if you're having trouble falling asleep tonight or prior to this meeting, I suggest you read that. So for your expedition, I provided a much smaller content there that I'll highlight some numbers for you. Total revenues for the foundation for last year were $4.8 million. Trustee Norris, this does include donor contributions and not just investment returns. I anticipate that question from her each and every year, and you were not here to ask that question last year, but I still answered it. Total support to the college, as I mentioned before, was nearly $1.2 million, and total assets for the foundation achieved just north of $27 million. Does anybody have any questions on any of the audit before I continue on with asking for approval? Are there any thoughts or questions?
Congratulations. I know a couple years ago when I challenged you to, give us numbers that weren't just about like what the investment income was doing. You've done a great job. You've expanded the base. You've expanded the number of donors, which is really critical, especially if we have more of a downturn. And, congratulations on having people step up to do more than one naming opportunity. Correct. That means they feel like you've been good stewards. We've been good stewards of that money. Correct. If they come back and say, we'll name another building, they feel like we're a great investment. So congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. Finally, the foundation has no debt other than current payables, and none is projected. And the full annual 990 tax return is on file in the business office and the foundation office, but it's always available for review. So at this time, Mr. Chair, we ask for acceptance of the audit report.
Okay, any other questions or comments about the audit report? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Ms. Norris?
I'll second.
Dr. Tepedino? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Okay, and finally, we're once again requesting the recertification of the foundation for Florida Gateway College as the sole direct support organization for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Okay, any questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the recertification of foundation.
Dr. Sorensen, second.
Medina, second.
Mr. Medina, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just one additional item on the foundation. We never, in the certification of the new board members for positions, we never assigned anybody to the foundation, I believe. So you need to sometime in the near future do that. So,
Okay.
And then if time permits, I'd like to do number G for you. My suggestion to the board about healthcare. We had a very successful, till we get our healthcare, till we get our cards and we make sure our insurance is paid when we go to the doctor, we'll be good. But we had 198 individuals eligible for the health plan, the state of Florida health plan. We have 100% participation. And it was a very successful implementation. I want to thank Cassie Buckles and also Katie from that office that has worked tirelessly to help faculty and staff understand things, and especially with retirees and some of those issues. So we budgeted this year $2.3 million for health insurance, and I came to you back in September saying that we anticipated that the additional amount of money for half a year for health insurance was going to be $800,000. Well, I like to be wrong. Well, I like to be wrong on this issue. So, and it would be 1 point. I don't like to be wrong ever, you know that. So, but on this one, I was definitely wrong. And the percentage of people that took the health insurance, 60% of the took individual coverage and 40% took actual family coverage. And we thought it was going to be just the opposite. So the amount of that's going to be increased for mid-year will be $300,000 instead of the $800,000. We've also had a lot of concerns, even though the employees are getting better health care, more affordable health care, actually. We've had a lot of concerns by some people that we've always paid their health care. And we have different insurance now, so it's different. But lots of concern over our employees asking, are we going to reimburse them for the $600 that they're going to have to pay? Remember, all employees paid zero amount of money. So now it'll be $600 a year. But with our budget being the way it is, and this being one time and not knowing what our budget's going to be next year, and hearing that it's going to be a very tight budget year, and I won't look at Mr. Brandon, but I've heard it's going to be a tough budget year. I would make a suggestion that we take out of non-recurring state money, one-time $600 in payroll to our faculty and staff before the end of the fiscal year to cover them for that $600. And that amount will be about $118,000 if we just, I know you want to increase it up to the 800. I don't want to do that. I just want to give them 600 and whatever the taxes is. But I think it would be a goodwill nature for all their hard work. And from then on, they'll understand that they have to pay, and it will just go into their thing. So I just thought it was a goodwill gesture. It fits within the budget that we have. And I thought because of, it's a lot less than the 800,000, I thought, so.
Okay. Any comments or questions about that?
Who's the healthcare plan with again? I know it's a state, but like.
Well, there's many. You could get an HMO or you can get the PPO.
But is it Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Well, that's the PPO, correct?
And
Right?
it depends on what area you live in as well.
By county. And the,
I'm sorry, say that again?
Aetna is the HMO that we have in Columbia County, and then Florida Blue is the PPO.
I was just curious only because I guess maybe it was the last time we met, and like UF isn't taking, they didn't do anything with United Healthcare and all that, so, I mean, that's a big problem for a lot of people. So we don't have that issue here. But they're not taking Aetna either over in, UF's not taking Aetna either over in Jacksonville, I think it is, maybe.
It changes quite rapidly. That's part of the problem.
No, they weren't able to come to an agreement, and it's really thrown a lot of these renegotiations into, a problem, because, if you can't get into Shands UF, then a lot of our folks, that's like every specialist everybody has, so, okay, thank you.
The healthcare has made it already an immediate impact on a couple faculty hires mid-year. So it has done,
So, Mrs. Buckles, thank you. That is a boatload of work, and that is so kind of you, especially because it's people who are retired, it's tracking people down, it's educating people, it's probably having difficult discussions that people don't always want to hear. So thank you so much for doing that amount of work. It is I can't even imagine. So we are so thankful to have you. And in regards to your comments, I think it does help ease the sting of that transition for for the first year. I think as long as it's given in a way where that $600 is this isn't a recurring thing, this is just because we know it's going to kind of suck at first. So, my thoughts are, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a gesture of good faith. It's taking care of those people that take care of us. And while, a little over $100,000 is nothing to scoff at, I also think in regards to this time of year for these families that are working so hard for us, and then as the new year rolls around, and then it's wait, I got to cough up $600?
And the perfect timing is because it hits their paycheck on the day we're going to do it, right? Is that?
Yeah.
November 3rd.
Yeah.
So that's where if you approve it, it hits at perfect
time. We just have
time.
to be very mindful of saying, please know this money
Don't
is
worry,
for
we're gonna
this.
do that.
It's a one and done, and we just want to make sure that as we make this transition, you guys are aware. We appreciate you. Moving forward, this won't be this way. Budgetarily speaking, it's going to be difficult this upcoming year. But so I think that's a great idea. I think all around, you guys have really thought this through, and I'm very grateful for that hard work. I cannot even, my brain is that's so much work that you did, so thank you.
And does it have to run through their payroll, or is it not something that we can pay directly on their behalf?
The state.
I'm just curious, because taxes is going to take out a chunk of it
Yeah,
anyway.
we cannot pay on their behalf.
Okay, I didn't know if there was.
That's one of the issues, yeah. And the big issue was, and let's not bet, but do we just give the employee $600, and that's what I would request from the board, and then taxes have to hit it? Or do we scale it up to 800, and that's an additional 40 or 50,000? I think we should just do the 600.
I think you just do the 600.
Yep.
I think you do
Yep,
it the right, and then moving forward, because next year, guess what?
I know, that's right, exactly.
Next year, guess what?
Yep, yep, that's what I say.
It's the reality of, unfortunately, our ever-changing healthcare system.
Every business is going through this right now. It's
you pay
shocking.
more and get less, and that's what that is. So.
All right, well, the request is for approval of a one-time healthcare cost healthcare cost adjustment in the amount of $600. So I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Dr. Tepedino?
Second.
No.
Miss Allen? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
And that's my report. Sorry, so too long, Mr. Chairman.
Not a-
You still haven't covered your basketball game.
So I lost. Our team won by 22 points over Division I Santa Fe, but I lost. I made 2 baskets and he made 5.
The more important
So-
team won, right? So
it's all how you spin it. Next year he's coming here, and I will beat him. I think he gave me too big a ball for the net. I really think they had. So, you know my excuses. So.
All right, are there any topics for future meetings that any board member would like to suggest? If not, then the warrant register is available for inspection. Our next meeting will be on January 9th at 5, and that will be at the Union County School Board office. And remember, I guess, and I think y'all had something in here about our graduation on December 12th. I've already told Miss Allen that my niece is getting married on Friday the 13th for some reason. So I'm going to be at the rehearsal dinner, so I won't be there for the graduation. I hope everyone else can, as many as you can. And if there's nothing else, I will declare the meeting adjourned.
All right.
Congratulations,
I'm great. Yeah,
Mr.
I'm doing
Chairman
great.
of the Judiciary.
Hillary's always